While Leonardo da Vinci was painting and Columbus was sailing, an empire the size of France, Spain, and Germany combined was thriving in West Africa. It had a professional army, a bureaucracy, a navy, and a city where books sold for more than gold. It lasted 130 years. Then 4,000 men with guns destroyed it in an afternoon. This is the Songhai Empire, the largest state in African history up to that point. And unless someone specifically taught you about it, you have almost certainly never heard its name. Songhai began as a small kingdom on a bend in the Niger River, centered on the city of Gao. For centuries it lived in the shadow of the Mali Empire, the same empire that produced Mansa Musa and his legendary wealth. But Mali was crumbling. Its rulers were weak. Its vassal states were breaking away. And in 1464, a military commander named Sonni Ali decided the shadow was over. Sonni Ali was brilliant and terrifying. In 1468, he seized Timbuktu from the Tuareg nomads who had taken it from Mali. He then turned south and besieged the trading city of Jen for 7 months until it surrendered. Within 3 decades, he had built an empire stretching from the Atlantic approaches to the borders of modern Nigeria. He used the Niger River as a highway, deploying a war fleet of canoes that could move troops faster than any army could march. He was never defeated in battle. The Muslim scholars of Timbuktu despised him. They wrote that he was a tyrant, a bad Muslim, barely religious at all. But the chronicles were written by the scholars, not the soldiers. And the scholars had their own reasons to resent a king who answered to no one. When Sonni Ali died in 1492, the same year Columbus reached the Americas, his empire was the most powerful state in West Africa. But it was held together by his personal authority. His son inherited the throne and lost it within months. A general named Muhammad Tour seized power at the Battle of Anfail in 1493 and declared himself Askia, a new title for a new dynasty. Askia Muhammad the Great transformed Songhai from a military conquest into a functioning state. He divided the empire into provinces, each with appointed governors. He created specialized ministers, for taxation, for the navy, for agriculture, for forestry. He standardized weights and measures across the trade routes. He established Islamic courts alongside traditional justice systems. This was not a tribal confederation. This was a bureaucracy. In 1496, he made the pilgrimage to Mecca, carrying, according to the chronicles, 300,000 gold pieces for charity. In Cairo, the Abbasid Caliph granted him the title of Caliph of the Sudan. He returned with scholars, architects, and religious authority that cemented his legitimacy across the Islamic world. Under Askia Muhammad, Timbuktu became one of the great intellectual centers of the medieval world. Scholars from Cairo, Fez, and Baghdad came to study and teach. The mosques of Sankor and Jingareber functioned as centers of Islamic learning where thousands of students studied jurisprudence, astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and philosophy. Libraries accumulated hundreds of thousands of manuscripts, a body of written knowledge rivaling anything in contemporary Europe. The diplomat Leo Africanus visited around 1510 and wrote that in Timbuktu, books sold for more money than any other merchandise. Think about what that means. In a city built on the gold trade, where camel caravans carried fortunes across the desert, the most valuable commodity was knowledge. The empire's economy ran on the gold-salt exchange. Gold from the mines to the south traveled north. Salt from the Saharan deposits at Tagaza, a miserable mining settlement built entirely from blocks of salt, traveled south. Songhai sat in the middle, taxing everything. Alongside gold and salt moved slaves, cola nuts, textiles, horses, leather, ivory, and ostrich feathers across a trade network that connected West Africa to the Mediterranean and the Middle East. For nearly a century, this system worked. Then Morocco decided it wanted the gold for itself. In 1590, Sultan Ahmad al-Mansur of Morocco sent an army across the Sahara. 4,000 soldiers. 2,000 of them carried arquebus, early matchlock firearms. They had 10 cannons. They were led by Judar Pasha, a Spanish-born commander captured as a child and raised in the Moroccan court. The crossing took 5 months. Men died of thirst in the desert. By the time they reached the Niger, barely 3,500 were left. The Songhai Emperor Askia Muhammad II assembled his army. 30 to 40,000 warriors. Cavalry, infantry, archers. He reportedly drove a herd of cattle ahead of his lines, intending the animals to absorb the gunfire and trample the invaders. On March 13, 1591, at a place called Timbuktu, the two armies met. The cattle stampeded backward when the guns fired. They crashed into the Songhai lines. The arquebus tore through the infantry. The cannons broke the cavalry charges. The largest army West Africa had ever assembled disintegrated against 3,500 men with a technology they had never faced. Gao fell. Timbuktu fell. Scholars were arrested. The great Ahmad Baba al-Timbuktu, who owned 1,600 books and said there was a modest collection, was dragged to Morocco in chains. Libraries were scattered. Centuries of accumulated knowledge dispersed into private hands, buried in desert caves, or lost entirely. The Songhai Empire did not recover. It fractured into small successor states. The trans-Saharan gold trade shifted to European maritime routes along the coast. The great cities of the Niger Bend declined into shadows of what they had been. 1,400,000 square kilometers. A professional bureaucracy. A navy. A city where books were worth more than gold. All of it destroyed by a force 1/10 its size, carrying a weapon it had never seen. The Songhai Empire is the answer to a question most people never think to ask: what was the largest state in African history before Europeans arrived? And why did nobody tell you?